Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our series looking at Transformers movies. We have a very special episode today. We're going to be looking at the fifth film in the Transformers series. We're calling this Session 5 of Battle of the Theories. I'm joined with my co-host, Tommy.
Hi.
And I'm Greg, if people forgot. That's okay. But yeah, this is going to be a shorter session because, honestly, this is, remember when Morbius came out and we were all saying that this is the moviest movie?
Yeah, I remember.
That's not the right analogy here, but that's what I'm feeling for some reason. Because this is far from the moviest movie. Because movies usually have movie elements, and this is far from that. But I feel like I have to speak without verbs to discuss this film properly.
Ah,
All right, but just some technical breakdowns of all that we can make sense about this film's history. Some stuff worth noting, I suppose. The highest budget of the franchise so far, the lowest grossing of the franchise so far. Again, this is discounting the animated movie from 1986. Lowest Rotten Tomatoes score, pretty sure. I think this is like 1% lower than Age of Extinction.
whoa.
So I like the idea that the critics who still liked Age of Extinction still like this, and then vice versa. Maybe one jumped off the bandwagon. Lowest audience score, actually, though. That was the thing I first took notice of, is because I remember when Age of Extinction came out, the user score on like IMDb was really high, like opening weekend, and then it just kept getting lower and lower. Like I swear it was at a 7, like opening weekend, because I think all the fans went to see it, liked it, gave it a high rating. And then as it went along, now it's down at like a 5.2 or something, like really low. This was immediate. Like I just noticed right away that, the audience scores lower on this than I'm used to these movies being on opening weekends. So something is possibly rotten in the state of Denmark.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I believe it has the lowest Metacritic score too of all the movies, and lowest IMDb score of all the movies. And then for my plot synopsis, Tommy, can you read it for us?
Knights, ladies, Nero Zeus,
Nitro Zeus.
Nemesis, what?
Nitro Zeus. It's okay.
Nitro Zeus, Nemesis Prime, Harriet Tubman.
That's the best I can make of it. So we'll go with that. Tommy, would you like to tell the story of when you saw the film for the first time?
Well, I went to go see the first time a morning after a high school reunion. I was pretty daisy and tired, but I went to go see my nephews. I walked in the theater, they yelled, Uncle Tommy, we watched the movie.
That's right. Were you at one of those rehearsals when I was watching the movie the first time?
I was. In
That's
fact,
right. Okay.
our drama teacher was like, "Oh yeah, Greg's at the movies tonight," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know. He didn't invite me."
And you're like, yeah, this is gonna be painful. I am sorry, Tommy. I should have invited you. If I didn't invite you, I seriously apologize about that. I should have done that, or shouldn't I have? I think because I told you not to go. Like I said, so I saw it. But
Oh yeah, and then during the whole reunion, I had to step away from you because you wanted to talk about spoilers. And then you're like, "Tommy, don't go."
and then, but as you say that, I'm like, well, what can I spoil in this? What could the spoilers even be?
Oh yes, fair enough.
I will say so. Maximum hype. Sorry, my God, maximum hype for me. Still, I'm still self-aware though. I know that the average of this franchise, this could be really bad. I didn't think it would get this bad, but at the same time, I don't know. I'll save that for later. But so I went into this more hype for. I think I was more hyped for Star Trek Into Darkness when that came out still. But I was just I was really hopeful this was going to be good because I really loved the last film. Still love the last movie, Age of Extinction. Um, I liked Transformers 2 at this point. I still didn't like the first one. It's questionable if I even like the first one. I of course like the third film now for the ironic love of it. Um, but just hoping on to hope that this would be another Transformers movie that I could unironically enjoy. Um, and then I saw it. I didn't hate it the first time I saw it. I just thought, okay, it's another bad Transformers movie. That's too bad. But but it has Optimus Prime, so I guess I enjoy it. I told you not to go just because I knew you probably weren't gonna like this, but that was my guess. But of course, we all had to go see it, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
now Flame was reviewing it, so I had to go.
yeah, because this is the prequel to Love, Simon, so you need to get all that context or to understand where
Oh,
Mr. Hopper's
absolutely.
coming from.
I didn't even. I didn't even know Love Simon existed, but I need to see the prequel to Love Simon.
I was actually going to ask you that, like realistically, or not realistically, but in actuality, did you even know Love Simon was coming out yet by the time this was coming out?
I didn't know Love, Simon was coming out till the week The Last Jedi came out. So, like, literally the Infinity War trailer came out, and then the Love, Simon trailer came out at the exact same time.
And how have neither of us made a coming out joke in all those sentences we just said?
Because we're fancy.
I'm going to call it missed opportunity. Anyways, and then one more question, Tommy. Have you seen? You haven't seen this since theaters, right?
I saw it one more time for this review.
Well, okay, yeah, of course. That's what I meant, though. Like, you haven't. I know you have rewatched Age of Extinction on DVD before we did this series, but this was not one that you ever put on before doing this.
Nope.
Series. Yeah.
Nope. Never planned to. Never will. Never. Just never before after theaters. I thought I'd never see it again, and then I saw it again, and then we will talk about that.
Well, to do Love, Simon, you have to rewatch this film. That is the rule.
Okay.
What was I going to say? I've seen this probably 30 to 50 times.
Why?
Because it says Transformers Michael Bay on it. How can I not? I'm pretty sure I've definitely seen this more than the third film. But then I think I've seen all the other ones more. I definitely have seen the other ones more. So I think I've seen this more than 3. And my only reasoning for that, or my only evidence for that, is I can probably still recite most of the dialogue in this movie verbatim. I can't do that for 3 still. So, or not even verbatim. I can tell you the order of all of the scenes in this movie. I can't do that for 3, even though I arguably like 3 more now. Because I used to like this one more than 3, but then when I understood the dark humor of 3, I got more into the third movie than this one. Because I don't think anything's going for this movie, really. Alright. Please hold on to your butts during this. This is going to just be a complete mess of a presentation because it's supposed to match the energy of this film.
Okay.
Let's talk about this scene. We got so the idea of this presentation is that we're just going to be kind of bouncing around all the different theories we've talked about in this series so far, because this one I don't think introduces that much new in terms of what we can talk about of like a new critical theory. So I just thought let's just like attack. Sorry, I don't know why I said attack. Let's just approach certain scenes with these different theories and see what we can pull out of it. So I got critical race theory and race politics commentary. In the first 3 scenes of the last night, we introduced the first protagonist of the film, Isabella, played by Isabella Merced. I believe that's how you say her name. I apologize if it's not. She is holding up in the ruins of part of Chicago and is protecting the Transformers there, or at least Canopy and Squeaks. The robot known as Canopy is killed when the human Transformers reaction force fire a missile at him because they think he is approaching Isabella and a group of kids with a weapon in his hand. Though Canopy is unarmed. What real-life race politics issues does this relate to? Why is this in the film?
Do we have to go here, Greg? Do we have to go here?
What else do you want to talk about with this movie, Tommy?
Yes, I get it.
If you really don't want to address it, I can just talk about it. But I just want to say, like, at this point, this is what Michael Bay's doing, is he's just putting these scenes in the movie because he's like, I don't know what else to do.
Sure, fine. That could be an interpretation of that scene. I thought that was just a plot device so Mark Wahlberg can get the thing to find the thing.
I think it's kind of an eerie moment. Like, again, like not in... It doesn't have any effect by the end of the film, but just the way that these guys are talking about the military guys attacking the Transformer, the way that they're speaking, like, hostile intent, the alien has a weapon, fire! I'm like, oh god, why is Bay doing this? I'm just saying, it's in the movie.
It is in the movie, yes.
No badge, armed and hostile. I got kids in danger. Hostile intent, alien has a weapon. Fire!
It's so ridiculous. Alright. I don't mind, yeah, we can just keep going, but I think that's just as extreme as the topics get, but it's right at the beginning of the film, so I figured I'd just bring it up.
Okay. Yeah, all no, right. Okay.
No, do you want to say one more thing, or?
No, not really.
Alright, slightly softer topic. Only slightly. No, I'm kidding. Political commentary, auteur theory. The military TRF decide to make a deal with Decepticons towards the end of the first act where they will free them. I think that's what's happening in exchange for them attacking Cade and the Autobots. What statement could the film and director Michael Bay be making about the military and U.S. government and how they decide to work with previously arrested war criminals and terrorists to attack those who have previously served them?
Oh, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah, no, this scene makes no sense.
I don't know if it makes no sense to me. Like, I get what he's saying, and like Stuart talked about this in the Now Playing review. But yeah, go ahead. You speak on it.
No, it just makes no sense. It's like, why are they having the dad from Love, Simon suddenly working with the Decepticons? I just wish they made it another character.
Yeah, like maybe it being Lennox is just kind of odd at this point because, yeah, as Tommy's saying, the dad from Love, Simon is going along with this decision. Like, he voices that he doesn't want to the General Morshower character, but like he's like, well, we make deals with the devil in times of crisis. So yeah, but yeah, just this I'm just gonna quote Stuart on this, just like the ideas and conspiracies, and I'm not saying none of them are true, just that like our government will put up with making deals with foreign terrorist powers in order to. This is going to be the worst episode of the show. In order to get like their Black Ops missions done, things like that. Just the fact that Bay's putting effort into referencing that kind of thing in this movie, that already makes very little sense. Again, it's one of the few things I'm amused by in the film, like just his complete brashness with his political statements at this point.
All right.
And then moving on, one more thing about sort of that part of the film. In the first act of The Last Night, we follow Tess's father, Cade, to where he is hiding his Autobot team. They're holding up in a junkyard located in the Indian Reservation in North America. Towards the end of Act 1, the military will use a team of Decepticons who they previously locked up in exchange for them attacking Cade, and we just explained that part. The film never explicitly tells the audience why the government can't just attack the Autobots while on the reservation, and they do attack them once they are off the protected land. What types of issues in the real world is this film alluding to? I'm not even saying real world issues, but like, why is this the situation? Like, not even trying to frame this as a question anymore. It's just like, why is this type of situation being portrayed in the films? Do you know what I'm talking about, Tommy?
I literally turned the film off at this point, then came back to it the next day. So at work, and no less. So it was just like, okay.
I'd rather be working.
Like, I'll watch this at work. I'll watch this on my lunch break. It's just like, okay, they're going to do another action scene is what I was thinking. Just, we got to have a chase scene with the government. Why not?
Yeah, I just think it's funny that essentially the situation and like the situation Bay's portraying in the scene is like, okay, they're protected by an Indian reservation, so we'll send a bunch of criminals in to flush them out, and then we can attack them. It's like, why does Bay or the screenwriter think about these things? So, the Duhamel and the Santos character are saying we can't attack them when they're on that, on the Indian reservation land, the protected land. So the reason the Decepticons go and attack them is so they can flush them out of that area because the government won't get in trouble for the Decepticons doing that.
That's just wrong.
I'm not making a point. It's just, why is this in the movie? It's amazing. Why is this situation in the movie? Because I don't think it's saying anything offensive. I think it's just doing what it's doing. It's like, why would you go to this? Why would you think of these things to put in your movie? It's just incredibly odd. Because it's not making any statements, I don't think, other than like the government will exploit Indian reservations or whatever. But I don't think that's very it's not very articulate. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I find it very funny. Don't worry, Tommy. The torture's almost over.
Okay.
You might have a little bit more to say about this one. Do you want to read this slide? Feminist theory, Vivian and Cade.
When Cade Yeager is still treated as the main hero of The Last Night, in its marketing, arguably the final film's visual presentation, his female co-star Vivian Wembley, who only comes into a major play after the film's first hour, is the character who has the most major effects on the protagonist. His progression.
The plot's progression, but yeah.
The plot's okay. Yeah, plot progression. Sorry. Do you want me to keep reading it?
If you want to, yeah.
She discovers the book, which leads them to the sub, which leads them to the staff, and she is the only one who can wield the staff, although even with that, she only has to physically touch objects to generate a positive outcome for the heroes. She has no real outcome, conscious mastery over it. Still, where does this leave Cave as a character in the story? How could this be considered a subversion of default male protagonists being upstaged by their female co-star? I don't care.
Dang. I mean, yeah, like especially this last sentence, I'm like, I'm not exactly stretching it. I'm just like, does this say anything? Like, can we make any? Is there anything worth commenting about this setup? Because it is like, yeah. Go ahead.
To be fair, she's a better actress than like most of the love interests in these movies by far.
Yeah,
and
Laura Haddock's fun in this.
What?
Laura Haddock's fun in this for sure.
Yeah, the actress is fun. So I like their scenes together in this movie. I'm just gonna admit that.
Oh,
Full hard, like
interesting. Which is, I mean, I'm
yeah,
not
no,
wrong. It's just
this
I'm surprised
no, this
you're saying you like something in the movie. That's all.
I know, I do. I actually, well, we'll get there to the end, but I actually like them in this movie. I kind of like their journey in this movie once they get together. So,
because my opinion on this has always been, I wish Cade was just not in this movie. Even though like Mark Wahlberg adds some comedy that's fun in the movie, I wish he just wasn't here, because if this was a movie led by her and Anthony Hopkins, it'd just be different in terms of like the stars of the movie being an old man and a woman.
that would have been really interesting.
Yeah, it just would have been different. Like it might not have been good. It probably in this movie, in this script, it still wouldn't have been good, but it just would have been like noteworthy. Again, like I can't think of anything in this movie, because each of these movies does something that like I love and can't live without or whatever. It's like this one. Again, not saying I hate the film yet, but like it's what is this movie doing that I like couldn't live without, other than just some of the like hilariously bad scenes. But yeah, it's this whole thing of like the movie still treats Mark Wahlberg like he's the hero, like in the way that it's visually presented, and the way they marketed it. But it's like Vivian is the one who's doing the things, but at the same time, she's not really doing anything intelligent. She's just like touching things and advancing the plot. It's like this is just a shitty screenplay or something.
Oh yeah, maybe.
That can't be it though. This is Transformers.
Exactly.
Any more thoughts on this, Fair, for now?
No, I think I said my piece on that.
All right. Two more of these, and then we can get into the loud and incoherent discussion about what we thought of the film. I think you might have some to say about this part. So this is back to genre theory, the cinematic universe world building. So this was an attempt to create, a shared universe in the same way of Star Wars, DC, Marvel, Conjuring. I think they were trying to do a World War II movie where Bumblebee would either be the star or have a cameo in it. And in there's a Bumblebee alternate opening, like for the movie Bumblebee, that implies that he has been around for decades. So like he didn't crash there in 1987 like he does in the final film. Like he was supposed to have been there for decades and like angry at humanity for all the horrible things we've done, because we've never heard that in a Transformers movie before.
Nope, never heard it.
Yeah. But then they changed it. So it's like, this was supposed to be that. And what did you think of the world building in this, I guess, is my only question.
I mean, if you want to put Transformers through I honestly felt like it was a joke. Like Michael Bay was making fun of its own franchises for repeatedly retconning the situation. They're like, okay, Transformers have been around through history. And I'm sure that'd be an interesting, like, what if you made like this historical epic, but you included Transformers in it? That would be kind of funny. That'd be a funny movie. That'd be a funny, like, franchise to do. And I'd be, like, kind of down for it if you just made a Harriet Tubman movie, but with Transformers. It'd be a little offensive, but I'd be down for it. But it's like, it's a joke. 100% a joke. Michael Bay was making a jokey joke.
I think it's a joke to Bay, for sure. I always read this scene as, like, Bay rolling his eyes at the idea of doing a cinematic universe like Marvel and DC. He's just like, this is so stupid. Like he doesn't want to be invested in it, and he's just like, okay, I'm gonna have Anthony Hopkins just ramble on about every historical figure that I know being involved in Transformers.
Oh, of course, but you'll never guess where they put Transformers in, Greg. I'm not going to tell you, but there is a Broadway musical that includes Transformers just for the sake of including Transformers.
So it's oh god, is it part of the cinematic universe? We have to watch that too.
No, it's a Broadway show, like live theater,
What is it? What did you want to tell me?
because it's a surprise. It's a surprise.
Are we going to a show later? I don't remember.
No, we're not going later, but I think you should see this show, but I don't want you to be ruined on the fact
Okay.
that Transformers are in this Broadway musical.
Okay, that's a big gamble, Tommy, that I'm just gonna randomly go see the show.
I'll tell you when you forget this conversation.
Okay, that's gonna be pretty hard to do. I mean, if you promise me Transformers, that's gonna be the only thing I'm gonna think about when we're talking from now on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then my last specific slide. Both the Age of Extinction and The Last Night arguably changed their action focus. The climaxes of the three Bayformers would often consist of a mix of human military and Autobots fighting evil robots, but the final two films largely abandon the military's presence as heroes and instead portrays the Autobots and a few select human protagonists to be the deciding factor in the good versus evil battle. How does this change the focus on our primary heroes and make these films follow the typical modern blockbuster template more? Think about superhero movies.
Oh, well, just how, I'm thinking of, the Avengers, how, the cops were helping out in the first Avengers movie, but then, third and the second and third and the fourth movie just had the Avengers fighting them.
Fighting
Bad
the
guys,
cops.
so what's...
I know what you mean, fighting the bad guys, but pretend you're saying fighting the cops.
the cops. They don't fight the cops.
I know. It's just the way you said it kind of made it sound like that was funny.
Yeah. No, it's just
Yes.
it's all the same thing. It kind of looks cool in this movie. The final battle kind of looks cool in this movie. I'll admit that.
I think this movie, so our wonderful friend Jari has a theory about these movies, or honestly about most movies. I think that it's just lifting a lot from anime, but trying to not have it noticeable, so they don't have to cite their sources or whatever on it. And I feel like this movie visually, I think the only thing this movie has going for it is Bay has finally achieved in certain shots of the movie, because a lot of this movie is so poorly shot, the regular dialogue scenes with the humans, which I usually think he does pretty well at. They're shot just very non-effort, he's not putting any thought into how the shots are being framed up for the dialogue scenes, because everything is just a handheld medium shot at this point. But for the fully animated CGI fight scenes, I think he finally reached how do I say this? He reached a more animated focused level on the fight scenes, and I think that's the only interesting thing in this movie for me is that he finally achieved a different level of doing the action, just making it look like a big 3D anime, which I thought was it's kind of interesting, but only interesting if you're thinking about the films through an anime narrative lens. So not gonna be interesting to anybody else.
Ugh.
Hey, I like Jari's theory, but anyways,
Okay.
that's for a different day.
Yeah, sure is. So we ready to go on the next slide?
Yeah, I think so. I was just trying to think if there's anything else to talk about with this issue specifically.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different topic, but I do think also, I think the most interesting thing about this specific thing, it doesn't even tie to the genre necessarily in the superhero angle. It's more or the anime angle. I'll just bring it up because why not? What's sort of interesting, I think, is that I think Michael Bay was interested in the Benghazi incident from 2012, because the American Benghazi incident in 2012, because he made a film about it in 2016. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I know.
And the thing I think he gets out of that as a storyteller and maybe just a person, is that he's just sick of heroes. He's sick of military guys just being put in situations that he thinks were not set up in a safe way, which, I'm sure that's going to open a whole can of worms of debate or whatever. But just the idea that it's like he wants heroes to step down and for private militarized forces to take their place, which is weird because I kind of think he sees the Autobots more as like a military as opposed to like a private contractor force, which is weird because of Benghazi. I'm gonna stop talking about this. Honestly, I'm gonna cut all this out because this is too big of a thing to discuss in this issue. I'm cutting this part out. All right. Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. Let's move on to the final slide. This was how it was always meant to be. Tommy, what did you think of the prequel to Love, Simon?
Okay, this is gonna shock you, Greg. I actually kind of liked it the second time around.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
I still don't hate this film.
The first
at all. But go ahead.
Parts of the first 45 minutes are obnoxious. That's why I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
Then when I went back to it, okay, so let me just say what I don't like about this movie. So the changing aspect ratios, Marvel does it a little bit better. Maybe because I've seen more IMAX presentations.
No film does it this bad. No film does it this obnoxious. Like zero.
But have you seen Eternals yet? Have you seen the IMAX enhanced version?
Fine. The IMAX in Eternals was fine.
Oh, okay, I just remember like it flashing during one like action sequence where it's like, oh no, it's Last Night all over again.
In comparison to this, I remember the Eternals one not doing that, but again, this is like the worst I've ever seen the IMAX because it's insane. But you go ahead, I'll write about it in a bit.
Oh, no, it's insane. It's probably the most insane. I'm gonna agree, it's most insane. But maybe I'm just used to like other movies doing it that I'm not as annoyed this time. But no, this IMAX changing aspect ratio. Do we need to explain this to the common people, guys?
I probably, because like, I swear to God, sometimes I still show this movie to people and they're like, "What are you talking about?" It just drives me crazy. So just notice that like during this scene, the black bars as the shots change keep changing size. People who don't know what we're talking about, that's the aspect. The aspect ratio is like how big the screen is and what's being cut off by the black bars on the top and bottom of the screen. And throughout this movie, this actually isn't a very good example, but throughout this movie, they just keep changing from shot to shot because what's really going on is Bay shooting this, I think, on 3 different cameras, honestly.
Yeah, I noticed that this time.
He claims it's just I think they claimed it was just a regular widescreen scope camera, so like that's like regular widescreen, that's the IMAX shot, where it's a little more open. But there's like 3 different, like, there's like 3 different on average, and then there's other ones where sometimes the bars are even, there's like 2 shots in the movie where the bars are uneven. So I think what's really happening is they're trying to cover stuff with the black bars too in post. Like they're like, oh, we don't want that to be in the shot, so just make the black bars smaller on this side of the screen. Yeah. So what else am I trying to say? So again, there's a big change there. And yeah, it just does this through the whole movie because there's no thought behind it. Because so like with a Marvel film or a Christopher Nolan Batman movie or just a Christopher Nolan film, there's thoughts. They're deciding this whole sequence is going to be shot with this camera with this aspect ratio, yeah, and it's going to be presented in this aspect ratio, so it doesn't disrupt the flow of the individual scene. It might be a little distracting when it changes initially to that scene to some people, but like throughout the scene, they don't just cut back and forth between different aspect ratios throughout. This is the only I've seen where shot to shot at time through a lot of the movie, you were just getting different aspect ratios.
Yeah, it's like when in the Black Widow movie, when Black Widow is like jumping out of the red room, you can kind of see the black bars slowly going up to change the aspect ratios. I thought, okay, Michael Bay did not have that mindset.
To me, that's intentional though. Like in Catching Fire, they did that when they go into the Hunger Games. Like the screen does like open up, like in motion. You see the thing open up as she's going up into the arena. Like that to me, that's like to me. I don't mind it when it's intentional because it's like they actually want me to notice that. It's like part of the style. Here, there's no style here. It's just they're just lazily putting the footage together without changing the aspect ratio. And there is a version of Age of Extinction that is exactly like this, with the 3D IMAX version, and you can see that on 3D Blu-ray. But that's not the default version of the film.
Yeah, no, you like literally you can't rent any other version of this stupid movie.
There is no version of this movie where it has a consistent aspect ratio. Every version is like this. It's the strangest thing, and it's because
even the standard like we both did not see this in IMAX 3D. Correct, Greg? Did you see this in you did?
I only saw this in regular theaters.
Me too.
I didn't see this in 3D. I didn't see this in XD or IMAX or anything.
So like we got the exchanging IMAX ratio on a regular screen, which would never happen.
Yeah, that was so insane.
It was so insane. Anyway, so that bugged the crap out.
maybe just a little more context too. That like so some movies that this is just done because it's a commercial thing. Oh, go get the IMAX experience. You got to pay for the IMAX experience to get the bigger frame, and that's fine. I don't know why I'm saying it so specifically. That's fine to me. But then there are other movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which change the aspect ratio to like tell you which world you're in. Like it's like it's a
Yes.
part of the storytelling.
Absolutely.
And that you'll get that effect if you go to a regular theater because the filmmaker wants you to see that in every version of the film. Where here, like
Absolutely.
the Marvel films and the Nolan films, it's like more of a gimmick thing. It's like, well, you don't need
Uh-huh.
it for the film, but it'd be cool. Wouldn't it be cool if you get it? But although to be fair with Nolan, his movies they have all that. That's the regular version you also get on DVD and stuff. But anyways, with the Marvel
Yes.
movies, that's not. Anyways,
Unless you get the
what were you
Disney
gonna
Plus
say?
versions.
Yeah, you can watch on Disney Plus, but it's not like this. It's not the only way to see the film. But what were you gonna say?
Okay, so anyway, I just wanted we went on that tirade. Anyway, I was going to say like that element was obnoxious, and the first like parts of the first four, and then when it gets to the Arthurian like journey to the movie, I'm like, you know what it felt like to me watching this movie? It felt like Michael Bay really wanted like was a fan of the show Once Upon a Time, and he really wanted to include that in a Transformers movie, and I kind of appreciated that.
Well, again, stealing from Now Playing, they did get the same actor that played King Arthur, right?
They did, yes.
Liam
That's
Gallagher.
not stealing from Now Playing. I noticed it when I was watching the movie.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't know that unless I was thinking about the Now Playing review.
No. I would have told you.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's like he was a Once Upon a Time plan. It's like I want to make that into a Transformers movie. And I'm like, right on, Michael Bay. I kind of it's a bit of a changing
Okay.
of the elements that I could appreciate, but like it's not a great movie. I'm just making that very clear. I just thought like I went from like, oh, this movie's awful to oh, this movie's okay. Like the
I think
acting's
this
pretty
movie's
good. There's
awful. But
I
yeah.
think this movie. I don't think there's an actor who I think is bad in this movie, so I'll go that far.
Yeah. Like Isabella Merced is like she's in this for like an hour at best, and I think she's like giving it her all, which is nice. Which is I shouldn't say nice. It's impressive.
Hmm.
How much emotion she gets across in that first hour, and towards the end. But even though she's like given nothing in the movie, Mark Wahlberg's like funny in this, but I think he just looks lost the whole time. Um, which maybe is part of the character. I don't know. Um, and then Laura Haddock is pretty good in this. I think doing her best with this nonsense. Anthony
Oh,
Hopkins
Anthony
is
Hopkins
having
is
the most
great.
fun in yeah he's having the
He's
most
never had
fun.
fun in Mar. He's never had fun in Marvel movies as much as he's had fun in this movie, and I loved it.
I was thinking about that, thinking about how much he looked like he was struggling to play Odin and how comfortable he is in this role. It's so bizarre. Um, Cogman's
It's like in the
a fun
beginning, he's
little
like, "We
addition.
need you." It's like in the beginning when Michael Bay needed him to do radiation. It's like, okay, you're going to be Odin this time, but then the rest of the movie, have at it.
Yeah, I think. Do you want to talk more about what you love about this movie?
No, that's and then I like the visual flair at the end, like both action scenes towards the end.
Hmm.
I just like how they looked.
Hmm.
That's about it.
I don't hate this film at all, and I do hate other movies in this franchise. I don't. I definitely dislike this one the most now of the Michael Bay directed ones of the five movies, because I just don't think it. I think it does the least amount, basically. It's sort of easy to watch. It gets old after a while for me. I actually think the first hour is the strongest part, and then like when they get to England, that's where I jump off the the train. I'm just like, they're just rambling nonsense about everything. I have a running joke when I watch this with friends, where every time they get confused, I say, "Don't worry, the plot will reset in 10 minutes, and it'll become about something else." Because it's like, yeah, that first hour, it's about him taking care of this girl. She's dropped out of the movie. Then we go to England and mess around with all the King Arthur stuff for a bit, and then it becomes about, oh, we got to turn Optimus good again for 5 seconds, and then and then they just big action at the end. Which I mean, the Merlin thing is like the most consistent plot element throughout the film, but I just these movies have never been well written, but it's like he just didn't care at this point. Like to me, he was like in the other movies, he was still trying to tell a story throughout the whole thing, and here he's just doing whatever he wants for 2.5 hours. Which I mean, okay, I shouldn't say that because the third film is him doing whatever he wants for 2.5 hours. So I don't know how to distinguish it. I just think this is the one that has the least amount to offer people. Like, unless
Mm.
I think it might work. I don't know. Actually, Dark of the Moon is such a niche enjoyment too, but I know a lot of Transformers fans also like that film really passionately. But in terms of like normal people, regular people that aren't Transformers fans or weird auteur read fans like me, um, like 3 more than this. I think this. I was thinking about this. I think this one probably plays better overall to an audience than the third film does because there's just like more inherently enjoyable stuff throughout it. Where the third film is like it's so linear and like just plot. How do I explain it? It's like the third film is just too I don't know what to say, but it's linear, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like a lot's happening in it. It's very static. I think that's what the problem with the third film is in terms of just like sitting back and enjoying it. How much did you what did you feel about the third film again?
It's terrible till the third act until it then that makes it good.
Okay. Um, so I can kind of see this one just being like easier to enjoy than that third one because it's just like a general adventure movie. But I still would stick up for like Revenge of the Fallen over this or Age of Extinction over this, being like a
Yes,
general adventure film. Um,
yes, I
Revenge,
concur.
Revenge of the Fallen because God, I've been thinking about that film way too much and how it deals with Sam's like emotional and like traumatic journey throughout that whole story and like God, there's some stuff in there that just like works that is so interesting and works so well and the rest of the movie's like a poopy diaper but that's still way more interesting than I think anything in this movie. And this is much worse of a production than Revenge of the Fallen where like I'm gonna pull up my notes where like just to make sure I know what to talk about. um I did my comparisons to The Room with this movie,
Oh wow.
where to me, the scripts are on par. Where like I get the gist of what they're getting at, but every time I watch the movie, the details just fall to pieces. But then
Mm.
also, my other comparison, not only is the aspect ratio inconsistent, but the film quality is too. Like, and maybe you notice that when you watch IMAX movies, but like, what the way it's cutting back and forth between the regular scope camera, the regular scope footage or whatever, the widescreen footage, and the IMAX footage, it's like the IMAX footage camera is so much clearer and like better that it just when it jumps back and forth between those two, I'm like, oh my god, this just looks like different film footage. Like, what is happening? It's
Mm.
crazy. And what's so funny to me about that is that when The Room, people make a false criticism they make an inaccurate criticism of The Room all the time, where they say, "Oh, Tommy was so shot it with, um, a 35 millimeter camera and an HD digital camera, and he used footage from both in the movie. That's why the footage looks inconsistent." I'm like, no, that's not true. He only used the 35 millimeter footage at the end of when they're actually editing the movie. The HD footage was never used in the film. Here's a movie where they're essentially doing that.
Yes.
It's just
You
like
mean Tommy Wiseau, right?
I said Tommy Wiseau, yes.
You did not say Tommy Wiseau. You just said Tommy. That might confuse people. No, I'm kidding.
I said like Tommy was I kind of gave up saying his name halfway through.
Okay.
Um. Anyways, yes, he's Tommy and I'm Greg. Deal with it. Um.
Hmm.
um. Yeah. So I do just think that this movie is insanely incompetently put together on for most of it. Um. I wish I probably should have more examples off the top of my head, but like the aspect ratio thing, the continuity errors. But the continuity errors are like normal in this franchise at this point, but it's done to such a level. And I think my main offense with this movie is just the fact that all of the dialogue scenes are shot so indifferently that I just feel like and I mean I always get offended by that in most blockbuster films anyways. But I'm just kind of bothered that it seems like Bay wasn't even like doing his job at this point because like he's been disconnected from this franchise since like the second movie at the earliest. Like he's not cared about what's going on in the actual storyline for the last 3 movies. But he was having fun with the third movie, I think, in a way that offended a lot of people, and I find amusing. And then the fourth film, it's like he was just doing his job, like he was just he's making the movie as competently as he could and like telling as interesting of a story that he knew how to tell. And here it's just like I don't think he was even showing up to work some days. It just comes across like they didn't have a director a lot of the time.
All right.
Yeah. So Yeah, I think you're right. The cast is strong in this. It's unfortunate that they're not, for me, they're not given enough to do, because I think that's the thing too. And I don't want to piggyback too much on Stuart's complaints from the Now Playing review, but like he really did put it as like there is no victory in this film, and I think there's some truth to that, because there's no victory in any of the storylines. It's like Vivian's journey as she learns to, she doesn't even learn anything. She touches things and things happen. Um, Kate doesn't reconnect with his daughter. I might just quote the whole thing. The talisman becomes a sword, and then that goes nowhere in the climax. Um, the war isn't over as far as we know. You know, Optimus sort of starts out the film saying that like he's just trying to finish the war and save Cybertron. That doesn't go anywhere. It's just like nothing in this film goes anywhere satisfying. And I don't think that's true with the other other four films. I think every film had a story arc play out that maybe aren't satisfying, but they're at least a story arc there, and there's something to say about all of their story arcs. For this one, it really doesn't go anywhere that it has any meaning or any point. And I think that's why I find it the most deflating. I don't know. I don't hate this movie. I can watch it. I probably watch it more than the third one still, just because it's like kind of easier to get through. But I don't know. It's almost the least significant film. It's not my most hated Transformers film, though. We will get to that one in a few episodes.
I know, I can't believe it, but we got the greatest Transformers movie.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, you go first, Greg.
Oh no. Well, okay, sorry. Actually, I'm not sure which one you think I'm gonna hate the most, though. Actually, sorry. I know you know. But let's not spoil it yet. Yeah, and then we got Rise of the Beast coming out soon. We got 3 more movies to cover. Just in case anybody's not a real fan and forgot, we're gonna cover all the films in the franchise. So we're getting into the spin-off era. No more Michael Bay directing, just him producing
Thank
a couple
God.
of these movies. I miss him, but we're gonna get some good movies coming up. I think we're gonna have Love, Simon next. Tommy's favorite movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. Ironically, it is your favorite movie. And then Instant Family after that. Gonna find out what happens to Isabella Mercer's character and her siblings, I guess, that aren't mentioned in this film. But it's the Transformers franchise. What do you expect? And then we got the Transformers like solo robot character spinoff, I guess, if that's how you want to put it. Bumblebee. We're gonna learn so much about Bumblebee and like his storyline as a character. You're totally gonna learn a lot about him, because it's the best Transformers movie, guys. And then we got Rise of the Beast coming out. We got our tickets. We're hyped.
Oh yes.
Anything else?
Very
Tommy?
hyped.
Oh, do we recommend The Last Night?
Mildly, I will mildly recommend Last Night if you're high.
Yeah, if you're watching it with friends, I think it could be a lot of fun. I don't know. I don't hate it. I just don't know what you get out of it, like, at all. It's not. It's almost. What's funny though is I don't even think this is Michael Bay's most meaningless movie. I think Pearl Harbor is actually more meaningless than this movie.
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you still haven't seen it? I see that one. I can at least recommend this as like a funny bad movie. I honestly cannot recommend Pearl Harbor for anything except for admiring like the historical period visuals of it, because I think it is a beautiful looking film. Like I think he made like one of the best looking World War II movies of all time. But
I'm sure I'll get to it eventually.
The story is like more meaningless than this movie's story, if that's believable.
Can't wait.
All right. We will guys see you for the first great Transformers film, Love, Simon.
All right.
See you then.